You know that t-shirt you're wearing? Or maybe the sheets on your bed? Well, before any of that was fabric, it was something way simpler. Yarn. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the incredible, high-tech journey that turns a fluffy ball of raw cotton into the perfect threads that pretty much make up our entire textile world. So let's unravel this story one thread at a time.
Right. It all begins right here, with this simple cone of yarn. But honestly, getting to this point is a total marvel of modern engineering. It's a dance between massive machines and microscopic precision. We're going to take you inside Matin spinning mills in Bangladesh for a real look at how it all goes down, following the fiber from the very second it hits the factory floor.
So, the whole journey kicks off with these huge, compressed bales of raw cotton. They're shipped in from all over the world. And right away, you get this sense that this is no small-time operation. We are talking about production on a massive industrial scale. And to put a number on it, this one mill can crank out 60 tons of yarn every single day. That is enough to make over 200,000 t-shirts. It's just a staggering amount of thread, all of it destined to become the clothes we see all around the globe. Now, the entire process really hinges on one thing: picking the right cotton. Because, look, if you start with weak or short fibers, it doesn't matter how high-tech your machines are, you're just not going to get that premium yarn that big brands demand for their clothes. And what's really fascinating is how scientific they are about this. They test cotton from all these different places: the US, Central Asia, Mali, and they're looking at key things like fiber length and strength. American cotton, for example, tends to have longer, stronger fibers, which is perfect for durable fabrics. So the mill creates this super precise blend, almost like a chef following a recipe, to get the exact quality and feel the customer is paying for. Okay, so once that perfect blend is decided, the cotton heads into its first major trial, a series of machines that altogether are called the blow room. This is where that rough, raw fiber gets its first and probably most aggressive taste of refinement. The blow room is basically cotton's trial by fire. It's loud, it's intense, but it is absolutely essential. You've got machines that just violently pull apart the compressed fibers into these tiny little tufts. Then it gets tumbled and beaten while detectors scan for everything: metal scraps, dirt, other fibers, you name it. And it all gets removed, making sure only pure cotton moves on to the next stage.
All right, so after surviving the chaos of the blow room, the cleaned-up cotton is ready for what a lot of people in the industry call the single most important machine in the whole factory. It's so important, they just call it the heart of spinning. This is the carding machine.
The main goal here is individualization. You know, imagine trying to untangle a giant knot of hair with the really, really fine-tooth comb. That's pretty much what carding does. It uses thousands of tiny wire points to separate all those cotton tufts into single fibers, lining them up into this really fragile, uniform web. And it also gets rid of any last little impurities or knots, which are called neps. So at this point, we've got this beautiful, clean web of cotton. But there's a problem. It's incredibly delicate. I mean, you could tear it with a breath. So this next phase is all about building strength by bringing a whole new level of order to these fibers.
And that's really the core challenge of spinning, isn't it? How do you take millions of short, separate little fibers and convince them to hold together in one strong, continuous strand? Well, the answer lies in two brilliantly engineered processes.
First up is drawing. They take multiple webs, which are now called slivers, and feed them into a machine that stretches them out. This forces all the fibers to lie perfectly parallel to each other. That alone makes the strand way more uniform. But then, for the really high-end yarn, there's this extra, almost luxury step: combing. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It literally combs through the sliver and pulls out any of the shorter fibers, leaving behind only the longest and strongest ones. That is the secret to that super smooth, premium feel you get in expensive clothes. We now have this refined, uniform, and strong strand of parallel cotton fibers. It's called a roving. It's been cleaned, it's been aligned, it's been strengthened. Now it's time for the final, almost magical step in this whole transformation. Every single step we've seen so far, all the cleaning, all the aligning, all the strengthening, it's all been leading up to this exact moment. The transformation from a simple strand of fibers into actual usable yarn, it happens right here, in a machine called the ring frame. And just to give you an idea of the sheer scale we're talking about, this one mill has over 73,000 of these spindles running at the same time. Every single one of them is like a tiny factory, spinning that roving into yarn all at once. The sight and the sound of it is just, it's awe-inspiring. The ring frame is just a marvel of efficiency. It does three things at once with incredible speed and precision. First, it drafts the roving down to the final thickness. Then, it twists the fibers together really fast. That's what locks them in place and gives yarn its strength. And finally, it winds that brand new yarn onto a bobbin. This is it. This is the exact moment cotton officially becomes yarn.
Okay, so the yarn has been created, but it's not ready to leave the mill just yet. Before it can be shipped out to become your next pair of jeans or whatever, it has to pass a really tough final exam.
And this is where some seriously high-tech equipment comes in, like this Ooster tester. It analyzes the yarn for absolutely everything. Is it perfectly even, or does it have thick and thin spots? How hairy is it? You know, how many little fibers are sticking out? Every single property is measured with laser precision, and it's all checked against the customer's exact specs. Nothing leaves this place without a passing grade.
Once the yarn passes its exams, it's wound onto those cones we saw at the beginning. It gets a final treatment in a conditioning machine, which uses steam to set that twist and make it even stronger. And then it's packaged up, ready to start the next chapter of its life at a fabric mill somewhere.
Now, you might be thinking this whole thing is just a purely mechanical, industrial process from start to finish. But you'd be surprised. There's actually a lot of creativity and innovation that goes into it.
The mill has its own R&D lab that experiments with making what they call fancy yarns. These are special products with really unique visual effects and textures, all designed to catch a fashion designer's eye. You've got stuff like injected yarn, which has these little slubs of fiber added on purpose for a rustic look, or even metallic yarn with shiny threads twisted right in. It just goes to show you that even in a process this massive, there's always room for a little artistry. So the next time you pull on a t-shirt, maybe just think about the incredible journey it took to get to you. From a humble, kind of dirty bale of cotton, through this whole gauntlet of high-tech machinery, all the way down to that one single, resilient thread that holds it all together. It's an amazing story of